he said. If I could have your attention, please, if you'd be kind enough or willing to stand for the invocation, we'll recognize Pastor Brooks Everett, and if you would, remain standing for the pledge to the flag.
Thank you. Would you join me in prayer, please? Father, I want to thank you for the privilege that you gave me 14 years ago to move into Henry County, and for the privilege of working here for the last 14 years, and my 3 boys going to school here. It's a good place to be. So, Father, I thank you for those that are behind the desk and others that work here for their service to our community. Lord, I ask you today that you would give them wisdom. Help them to make decisions that would be best for the people of this community. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm sure at 9 o'clock with the Henry County Board of Commissioners, 9 a.m. Tuesday, October the 4th, 2016 meeting come to order. I'm going to make an announcement. The following Henry County Department of Transportation item was advertised but has been withdrawn by the requester. Public hearing appeal, a plan review comments of a request for a minor subdivision located in the northeastern quadrant of Honey Lane and Snapping Shoals Road, landlocked 83 and 110 of the 8th District, District 3. Having said that, would somebody move we accept the agenda as published?
So moved.
Have a motion, District 3.
Second.
Second, District 1. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. So moved. At this point here, we would recognize the distinguished commissioner from District 1, and he wants to make some presentations to some citizens that has went beyond the call of duty in his district. So I yield the floor to District 1.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. This morning, Commissioner Moss would like to recognize 3 citizens for their efforts in District 1 to help keep the roadways clean for our county. And the first citizen is Bernie Brown, and Commissioner Moss says, in recognition of your service to the citizens of Henry County by keeping the community's roads clean and free of litter, the Henry County Board of Commissioners offers its sincerest appreciation for your time and effort in picking up trash and debris along John R. Williams Parkway in McDonough. Next, we have Mr. Joe Chapman. In recognition of your service to the citizens of Henry County by keeping the community's roads clean and free of litter, the Henry County Board of Commissioners offer its sincerest appreciation for your time and effort in picking up trash and blowing debris from the roadways and patrolling local neighborhoods, seeking out those who need a helping hand. And lastly, we have Mr. Jack Harrison. In recognition of your service to the citizens of Henry County by keeping the community's roads clean and free of litter, the Henry County Board of Commissioners offers its sincerest appreciation for your time and effort in picking up trash along Jackson Lake Road.
Mr. Harrison.
I'd just like to take a second and thank my citizens in District 1 for helping us keep our county and the district clean. And I'd also like to recognize Colleen McBrayer and Melissa Robinson for helping me put this together. Thank you.
Federal hearing, MC 16-03, Whitworth Builders of Fort Walton Beach, Florida, requesting modification to conditions for the Castlebrook subdivision located at 1675 South Ola Road and land lot 240 of the 7th District. The property consists of 32.61 plus or minus acres, and the request is to reevaluate the zoning conditions given in the rezoning case RZ 05-32. Dante, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. In 2005, this case specific to Castlebrook subdivision went through a rezoning where the 6 conditions of zoning were placed on it, and the applicant is coming back to modify condition number 5 specific to the materials for the exterior finish of the homes. And as it reads currently, it states that the minimum house size shall be 2,000 square feet of heated floor space, with all sides to be built of brick, stone, stucco with cementitious fiberboard, i.e. hardy plank, to be allowed in the accent areas. Vinyl shall be allowed in the soffits and fascia board. No vinyl allowed in the accent areas, eaves, dormers, gables, etc. The applicant is requesting to be allowed to use a mixture of cement, fiberboard, brick, stone, or stone as siding materials, and thus would like to modify the condition to read, the minimum house size shall be 2,000 square feet of heated floor space. All homes shall be craftsman style, consisting of all sides brick, stone, stucco, or any combination of 2 or more of the following materials on all sides, being brick, stone, stucco, or cement fiberboard. Vinyl products are only permitted in the soffits, eaves, and fascia. Staff has no objection to the applicant's request to modify this condition, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have at this time.
Anybody have any questions for staff? I yield the floor to District 1.
My iPad's froze up. Original condition 5, what was it?
The original condition states that the minimum house size shall be 2,000 square feet of heated floor space, with all sides to be built of brick, stone, stucco with cementitious fiberboard, to be allowed in the accent areas. Vinyl shall be allowed in the soffits and fascia. No vinyl allowed in the accent areas, eaves, dormers, and gables, etc. That's what it said initially.
Okay.
And I'll place it over on the overhead for you.
Okay. The new condition?
The new condition, yes. Is that what you like on the overhead? The new condition?
Yes, sir.
I yield the floor to District 4.
Okay.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Dante, so I understand, it looks like they're just trying to change to put vinyl products in the soffits, eaves, and fascia. Is that correct?
Yes, and allow a mixture of brick, stone, stucco, or hardy plank on the exterior on the majority of the exterior finishes.
Yeah, I know it's been quite an issue designing homes without vinyl products in the soffits, eaves, and fascia. It gets kind of challenging in there for craftsman style. So, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, other than being a big box brick house, it's going to have some craftsman style fronts and stuff.
Yes, there'll be a mixture.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? I'd like to invite the applicant to come forward, please, and state your case. State your name for the record, please.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is Steve Moore, Bass Consulting, 1350 Keys Ferry Court, McDonough, Georgia. Here representing Whitworth Builders in the request before you this morning. Castlebrook, as Dante mentioned, was zoned in 2005, completely built out, final platted in 2008, and like many other subdivisions, had sat dormant for several years. My client now owns this property, has been in the process of over the last several months of cleaning it up and getting it ready to where they could build houses. My purpose in this request is basically to request a craftsman style product to be allowed for this subdivision. In 2005, when this property was rezoned, much like many of the zonings in that era, the all brick requirement appeared to be just the trend and the pattern and what was marketable. Craftsman style homes is a very popular trend, as I'm sure you well know, and there's been several zonings in the last probably within the last year, that have received a similar type of architectural control that does allow the developer or the builder and his architect to put some different creative accents and styles on these that are more compatible and consistent with current architectural and marketing trends. And so again, you know, in 2005 when it was rezoned, brick was popular. We're just trying to bring this thing into what is popular today. No change in the minimum square footage. All we're requesting is for that that Craftsman style and those modifications to those conditions. We believe it's going to be a compatible, good project. My client's ready to, he's excited about getting started building within the next couple of months, and hope that you agree with that request, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you've got.
Anybody have any questions for the applicant? I only have one. This is what we call a PVC subdivision right now. It's already final platted, and there's no houses in there.
Yes, sir.
And
That's correct.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? If not, I'm going to open the floor up for 10 minutes to allow people to voice their opinions for this. So if you want to be for this, come to the podium, and the group will have 10 minutes. So if one person wants to talk 10 minutes, good. If you only have 10 people, they talk a minute apiece. So having said that, I open the floor up for a public hearing. Anybody that's in favor of this proposal? I say again, if anybody wants to be in favor of this, step forward. Seeing none, hearing none. I now open the floor up for 10 minutes for people to come forward, citizens, to voice their opinion against this project. So if you would come to the podium, state your name for the record. I say again, the floor is open for public comments. People that's in opposition to this, seeing none, hearing none, I declare that the public hearing requirement has been met, and if the applicant would please come back forward. Anybody have any additional questions for staff or applicant? I yield the floor to District 1.
I appreciate you coming. I'd like to make a motion that we approve condition 5. The new condition 5 is read.
Have a motion on the floor. Anybody second? Second. Second from District 5. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. So moved.
Thank you. Thanks.
Public hearing, COMP-AM 16-04-1050 North Bridge Road, LLC of Jackson requests an amendment to the comprehensive plan for property located at 1051 North Bridges Road in land lot 113 of the 6th District. The property consists of 7.62 acres plus or minus, and the request is to change the future land use map designation from commercial to rural residential. District 3. Dante?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant is requesting to amend the future land use map in conjunction with our comprehensive land use plan back to what it was prior to the amendment that happened in March of this year. Back in March 2016, the applicant for the Henry Promenade development pursued to not only amend the comprehensive land use plan, the future land use map, but they also pursued to rezone the subject properties that they were intending to develop. And this is one of the subject properties that was involved with that development. And as a result of things that were beyond the developer's control, the applicant now wishes to revert back to what it was as far as the future land use projection initially, which was rural residential. And there's also a concurrent case running with this that is next on the agenda that has a request to rezone back to the base zoning district of RA. And so that summarizes kind of how we got to this point. A lot of what you see on the map now actually is indicative of how the area is developing. The current character of the area is developing commercial. And because of that fact and because of the trends and what we're seeing at the exit 221 corridor and that is developing intensely commercial, the Zoning Advisory Board recommended denial of the applicant's request to amend the future land use map.
Anybody have any questions for staff? I yield the floor to District 3.
Just got a comment on this. This item here, that was dealing with 12 different property owners with this promenade, and you know, Ms. Simpson was the last one to hold out on signing for this, and after having conversation with her, I told her I would reach out to each commissioner, see if they had an issue with this, but she's got a piece of rental property, and she was concerned about her taxes. And I assured her, after talking with the rest of the commissioners about this matter, that we would try to revert this back if this deal fell through. I know there's been a lot of criticism that we trying to keep another project from going forward because of this, but the promenade is a dead issue right now, and it's not moving forward. So I just want to make that comment. Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments? I would ask the applicant to come forward, please. Good morning.
Basically, I just want to be put back to where I was before this started. I want my property back at RA.
Okay. Thank you. This requires a public hearing. I will open the, does anybody have any questions for the applicant? I'm sorry.
Apologize.
Huh?
Froze up, I can't see that.
Oh, he has a froze-up computer. There's no questions. I will open the floor up for 10 minutes for people that would be in favor of this. And if you would come to the podium, you'll have 10 minutes total to oppose this. State your name for the record, please. I say again, okay.
My name is Lane Stokes. I live at 3824.
Speak into the mic, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
My name is Lane Stokes. I live at 3824 Ashford Knoll in Atlanta, Georgia. Our property is adjacent to Mrs. Simpson's. I'm confused. I thought that we were going to be talking about B, which had to do with changing the future land use map back. But when Ms. Simpson got up here and spoke, she was saying that she wanted to keep her land IRA, which is the next item. So do I get to speak to B, or do I have to speak to C? I'm confused.
I think what I'm understanding, number one, the property has not been rezoned. The property merely was just placed on the comprehensive land use map. Is that, am I correct with that? It was rezoned.
I believe it is C3 right now.
C3.
Mr. Chairman, basically what happened in the previous case dealing with the Henry Promenade initiative, in order for these properties to be supported by our policy guide, the comprehensive land use plan and the future land use map, a comprehensive plan amendment had to have happened to support what they were looking to do with rezoning those properties to the intense commercial zoning district. So, so now we're kind of in the same scenario where the applicant's request to rezone back to RA is not supported by the current future land use map, so it will require an amendment to the future land use map to support her request.
So the first thing we'd have to do is amend the map and then go back and revert to zoning?
That's what it would take in order for the map to, the policy guide of the county to support their request. As of right now.
This right here just merely amends the comprehensive map, right?
Right. This current case that we're discussing will, if you all decide to approve it, it will amend that parcel back to the rural residential future land use projection.
So it will revert back to the original zoning of residential.
The zoning won't happen until the next case.
To the when?
The next case after this one. So this is to amend the comprehensive land use plan.
Amend the plan first.
How does, I understand that, but normally when they do that, it's the next item on the agenda is where they do that.
Yes.
And this right here is not the next item.
The next
So
item on
having
the-
said that, how does it impact the remaining,
the remaining parcels.
yeah, commercial?
If this parcel is amended, future land use wise, to be rural residential, and then the next case is amended to become rural residential agricultural, in essence and technically it will be a spot zoning based on how our future land use map is currently as is currently adopted, and then the current character trends of that particular corridor. being supportive of commercial. So what is happening here is, prior to the rezoning that they're asking for, in order for that to be supported by our policy guide, the comprehensive land use plan and the future land use map, that needs to be amended first before the rezoning is actually heard. So if you were to hear the rezoning first and then move to say approve the rezoning, then what you have is a comprehensive land use plan that contradicts the zoning of the property.
I notice it, zoning advisory board recommended denial.
Yes. For the amendment of the comprehensive land use plan, the zoning advisory board recommended denial, and that was based simply on the fact that at exit 221, you have a number of intensely commercial developments that are happening, and the current character of that area is developing commercial. And so with that in mind, that is in essence why the zoning advisory board recommended denial.
Okay, what we're doing today is we're just merely changing the comprehensive land use plan. We're not reverting the zoning. We're not rezoning it back.
Yes.
Good. Okay, does that answer your question, sir? Well, we had a...
Well, I was planning on speaking against B. So that's why I got up here to ask the question of which one I was going to be talking about. When she stood up, it sounded like I would be talking about her request for RA, but on the program here, it says that the first one that I would be speaking to is B, which is changing the land map back from the way it is now to rural, residential, and commercial.
Just for that one acreage there.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we own B, I'd like to speak against it, and if we own C, I'd like to speak for it. So, which one am I talking about?
Well, if you want the land use map to change back and make that residential, then you would be in favor of this motion. If you wanted it to stay commercial and not amend the comprehensive map, you would vote in opposition of it. That's the best I can answer.
Okay. So I'd be speaking for not changing it. Right?
Yeah, we could do nothing, nothing changes. Yes, but it still stays what it is. But see, if somebody puts a motion on the floor, then we have to resolve it, even though it may seem a mute issue. I'm going to yield the floor to District 4 for a comment or question.
Thank you, Chairman. As a point of clarification, Chairman, I think there's a little misunderstanding. We are doing the flume right now, the future land use map, and then the next case we'll hear is the rezoning. And if I understand you correctly, and I believe where you're coming from, you don't want the flume, the future land use map changed. You want to keep the future land use map showing commercial. You don't mind if it gets reverted back, the actual zoning gets reverted back to residential, but you want to make sure the future land use map shows commercial. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct, because I've been wondering for years why some is commercial and some is RA. The houses that were built in the RA sector were built before the commercialization became very important. So it looks like the future land use map ought to show all commercial, even though there are still areas within there that are RA.
Right. Now, question, Dante, on the future land use map, do we have where, let's just say on the future land use map, where there is a commercial zoning shown on a future land use map, but the property is actually zoned RA right now? Not this piece, just in general.
Sure, I'll actually show you right now.
Oh, okay.
Where my ink pen is placed on the map to the right, those properties are currently zoned RA.
Right.
I'm going to place my pen on the same parcels on the future land use map.
Okay.
So they're showing commercial on the future land use.
Now, I understand the gentleman's point here. He just wants the future land use map to continue to show the commercial zoning. So by what I'm understanding from you, though, we can't rezone this back to RA unless we change the future land use map to show it RA.
Well, objectively, from staff's end, we cannot make any recommendation other than denial if our policy guide does not support what the applicant is requesting. Excuse me. But as far as the Board of Commissioners, it is at your discretion as to the direction you wish to go as far as this parcel is concerned.
So question, could we leave the future land use map showing commercial and rezone this property to RA?
Technically, you could.
And
You could leave it commercial,
Sure.
spot zone it RA, and then what will happen is if someone comes in and wants to develop the property, they have to go through the process again of rezoning it, per the Georgia zoning procedures law.
But the future land use map would show commercial.
It will look like it is, as I just showed with the RA zoning and then commercial future land use.
Because I understand what she's trying to do. When the different commercial zonings, the tax rate's higher. And I understand what she's trying to do. Gary, I would really think about keeping the land use map commercial, just changing her rezoning back to residential. And that takes care of what you're asking for, takes care of what she's asking for. And I think
I'm good for that.
we'll talk to the applicant. Thank you.
So, will I still get to speak to
Yes.
C?
Yes, there's one more case. The next case you can speak as well. I yield the floor.
But that won't be today.
It'll be today. The next case. Case number,
Which one?
yeah,
Oh, I
the
got you. I got you.
RZ 1621.
Yeah, I got you. I got you.
10-4?
Okay, so we're not going, anyway, I'm gonna start back over for 10 minutes. And anybody oppose this, you got 10 minutes, come to the podium and state your name for the record. Okay, I see no opposition. I state again, if you're in opposition, come to the podium, state your name. Seeing none, hearing none, I declare that the public session portion requirement has been met, and I yield the floor to District 3.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we leave our future land use map as commercial on this particular lot.
Okay,
I'll second that motion.
have a motion second. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign, so moved. Public hearing, RZ 1621, 1050 North Bridges Road, LLC of Jackson, Georgia, requested rezoning from C3 Highway Commercial to RA Residential for the property located at 1050 North Bridges Road and land lot 113 of the 6th District. The property consists of 7.62. Dante, another briefing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very briefly, this is the same parcel that we discussed regarding the future land use map request to amend that, but now they're asking to rezone the property back to RA, our base zoning district, as a result of the Henry Promenade development not proceeding as they intended.
Staff? If not, will the applicant please come back forward, please?
And the zoning advisory board did recommend approval on this.
State your name for the record, please.
Marguerite Simpson. Again, I just request that my property be put back to where it was to start with, at
Okay.
RA.
Anybody got any questions for the applicant or staff? If not, I'm going to open the floor up for 10 minutes. Anybody that would be in favor of this, if you would come forward, and you'll have 10 minutes. State your name for the record, please.
Again, my name is Lane Stokes. I live at 3824 Ashford Road, Brookhaven, Georgia. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mrs. Simpson is more nervous about these rezonings than the rest of us. She feared that if her land was zoned C3, that her property taxes would be raised out of sight and she would lose her land. That's been the concern of all of us. So before we signed the contracts with Mr. Bell for the development of this promenade, we told him that we would not sign anything until we were assured that our land would not be rezoned C3. And so we got to sign another part of the contract that said we were requesting C3 with conditions of the development of a regional shopping center. So if that is true, all of these parcels in here are still RA and can be C3 if a regional shopping center is developed. Now, personally, I kind of like the dualness of this. I know that I'm RA, and if somebody comes in and wants to build another building of some sort other than a regional shopping center, then they will have to go back and get RA changed to whatever the commercial designation is. But I hold the C3 in hopes that we will have somebody to come back and do a regional development. It's possible. Mr. Bell is a very nice person, very pleasant, a very good designer, but he is not a sales closer. And in order to get tenants to come to your property, you've got to be a sales closer. If he were, he probably would have talked Dillard's and Belk's into being anchors, even though their financial problems are in the forefront now. You know, successful businesses don't care about what the economy is doing. They're very aggressive. And so they would sign up for a regional shopping center if they had somebody who could sell them on it. And he couldn't sell them. And so he had to give it up. But there are other developers who can sell, who might come in and create a regional shopping center, and then our zoning would already be in place. So I very much support her having hers changed back to RA, even though it's a moot point. I mean, it's already RA. And will not be C3 until a regional shopping center is developed. So however you work that out, I'm very much in favor of her having her RA back because it makes her feel more secure. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Anybody else like to be heard? Yes, ma'am. Come to the podium, state your name, please. This is in favor of it.
I think so. I'm a little bit confused too. My name is Nancy Stokes. I reside at 3824 Ashford Knoll, Atlanta. I am Lane Stokes' wife. I'm actually the owner of the property that's next to Mrs. Simpson's. We too are in favor of keeping the land, the map as it is for future. But what we're all so scared of, and what I don't think y'all maybe get, is we were promised, and we had spoken to several people in several of your different departments, and were assured by two of them, the first two that we talked to, I don't want to name them because I don't want to get them in any trouble, but they said, no, 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 you will not have to pay any commercial taxes until that first commercial structure is started on that property. And by that time, you will have sold it, and so you won't have to worry about that anyway. We went into this in good faith with the contract, knowing that we were safe. We hired a lawyer. We wanted to do everything right. We wanted to be everything above board. And now we feel like we talked to some more people in the county, and they told us just the opposite. So we have heard from 4 different people, 2 of them saying one thing, 2 of them saying just the opposite. 2 of them saying that we would have to pay we're scared to death. We're not young people. I'm 72, and I have chronic lymphocytic leukemia. I'm in remission right now, but I want to live my life without worrying about having to lose my property because I can't pay those taxes that you may impose on me when I don't even have any buildings on my land. I can't do that. My family has been in Henry County for 4 generations. My great-grandfather who owned this was Harvey Carmichael. The other grandfather was Judge A.G. Harris, who Henry County thought enough of to make a Judge A.G. Harris Day several years ago when all the family met on the square. I don't live here, but my roots are here. And I feel for this county, but I want y'all to do right by us. We're a bunch of old people. We can't afford this, and we can't afford to spend the rest of our lives, especially if some of us are sick, worrying to death when you're going to slap us with a $58,000 tax bill and we can't pay it, and so you're just going to say, okay, we're going to have to take your land then. That's not right. It's just not right. And we've been told two different things by two different of your departments, and we did everything we did in good faith. So we are totally confused, and we just are asking to please be fair to us, because we tried to be fair to you. And I guess that's all I have to say. I feel like there's a lot more, but I can't think what it is right now. But please, please take into consideration that this is, for some of us, this is our retirement. And we've been holding on to this thing for a long time. And please just look at your conscience real hard. We're okay for this to go forward, the land use map. This is future. We're worried about right now. And as far as we're concerned, what we're understanding is we still are what we were. We're not C3 yet, and will not be C3 until somebody starts building on our property after they've bought it. That's what I wanted to emphasize, and I hope that I'm right in what I've said. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Anybody else like to be heard in favor?
Hi, my name is Kimberly Hicks. I live at 7352 Mockingbird Trail. My husband is Roger Hicks, and we also own property in that little triangle on North Bridges Road. We all agree that it should revert back to RA. I'm under the impression that it's not zoned either way, that it's transitional, that even at transitional, the taxes wouldn't really go up that much, but even that little bit will hurt my husband and I, as far as we are on a fixed income. I have a lot of medical issues. He has to take care of me. And it's bad enough when you're retired and on a fixed income that the state takes half of what you live for, let alone you don't want the county to either. So we're all in favor of this. We all want our property back, rezoned back RA, where we can afford to pay our taxes every year. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to be heard? I repeat, anybody else like to be heard in favor of this? If not, I'm going to close the floor to that. I'm going to open the floor for 10 minutes. Anybody that would like to be heard oppose this request? I say again, anybody would like to be recognized and oppose it, come to the podium and have 10 minutes. Seeing none, hearing none, I declare that the public session requirement has been met. And if the applicant and staff would return, please. Before we move into this, I noticed that Mr. and Mrs. Stokes is on for the 5-minute deal. Do y'all still want to do that, or you want me to discard this? You signed up for our 5-minute segment to speak on county-related issues, and you don't have to sign up when you sign up for a public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we had to sign up to speak.
Okay, so that's that. We address your issues right here?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to take these out. All right. So I will not recognize you for 5 minutes. Good. Does anybody have any questions for staff or the applicant? District 4.
Sorry, Chairman. Dante, let's perfect the record here. All right. Talk to me about the other constituents in their property. Now, it's C3. It was rezoned.
Yes.
Taxes.
Taxes, those questions would need to be answered by the tax assessor's office. And anytime we receive those questions, that's where we always defer those questions to, because we cannot speak on the actual tax situation.
Okay.
But the properties are officially zoned by motion of the Board of Commissioners, C3.
C3, okay. As you guys don't know my background or history, I deal with developers every day, and developing is not for the faint of heart. It's speculation, and in this terms, the project failed. So what I'm going to recommend to you guys, come in and rezone your property back to RA, just to ensure your taxes don't go up. Then if another project comes along, then we can rezone it back to C3 or C2, whatever it needs. But the tax rate, I couldn't answer that question. I would have to have the tax assessor tell me if your taxes are going to go up for C3. Now, I know you have structures on your property, so your structure would be billed as C3, and I'm not sure on vacant property the difference. We'd have to ask the tax assessor. But we can, if you want to, after the meeting, we can sit down and talk. We'll go down and talk to the tax assessor and then see the direction you need to go to make sure that you guys don't get in a pinch because of this rezoning. So we'll get with me after the meeting. We'll go talk to the tax assessor. We'll get you straightened away, figure out what you need to do, and we can just go from there. Is that agreeable? Okay.
I yield for District 3.
I kind of piggyback off of what Mr. Prince says. You know, I've talked to Mr. Hicks several times on the phone, and there seems to be some interest in those property owners that did get their property. On good faith, they did sign this agreement, and to try to move a good project. It was a good project for Henry County, but it comes down to us doing the right thing as well. And what I would recommend is, Roger, y'all get together with the rest of the property owners, bring this all at one time, and let's deal with this at one time. And but today we're dealing with Smith Simpson. Thank you.
Anybody else got any question or comment? I yield the floor to District 3.
Yes, Chairman, I would make a motion that we rezone this property from commercial back to RA.
Have a motion, got a second? Second, District 1. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign, so moved. Public comment. Citizens are allowed to voice county-related concerns, opinions, etc. that are not listed on the agenda during this portion of the meeting. All persons wishing to speak for public comment must sign in with the county clerk prior to the beginning of the meeting. You must complete the public comment speaker form or you will not be recognized. You will be able to address the board for 5 minutes. Each person who addresses the board shall not make personal, impertinent, slanderous, or profane remarks to any member of the board, staff, and the general public. Any person who makes such remark or who utters loud, threatening, personal, or abusive language or engages in any other disorderly conduct which disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of any board meeting shall, at the discretion of the chair or the majority of the council, be barred from the further audience before the board during this meeting. Having said that, I'm going to set the clock. You'll have 5 minutes to address the board. Please come to the podium, state your name for the record, and I take this in the order in which they signed up. And first, we'll recognize Mr. Carl Swinson for 5 minutes. Mr. Swinson.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Carl Swinson from Thurman Road in Stockbridge, Georgia, the unincorporated part. Gentlemen, I have with me today something that I hope all of you have a copy of, and it is the Pocket Constitution. And there's a part of it that we need to keep reminding you gentlemen of, and it is the First Amendment to the Constitution. Now, don't get me wrong, every aspect of this is what you took an oath to uphold. But this one is rather important today. It says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. Gentlemen, I've come here many times, and I have grievances, not the least of which is the illegality of some of the actions that are taking place. You gentlemen right now are in the clear, so to speak. I still have an issue with District 5 because he perjured himself on his oath of office. But you gentlemen are in a similar situation wherein I've brought to your attention the corporations that you guys are made board members of. And that has not been addressed. I know that you've tried to skirt around it, but you still remain as the board members of these corporations. You were not elected in that context. You were elected to represent us. You were elected to protect this and protect us. So most of what you do in here, is legitimate. But when you change hats, when you change your coats, and you start acting on behalf of the corporations, you no longer represent the people. You represent the corporations. We've seen the I-75 corridor here in Henry County literally taken over by another private-public partnership called the Atlanta Regional Authority. Now, Mr. Smith, you were a part of that. I don't know if you are anymore, but I don't think you are. But you don't know this going in. If you're a first-time elected official, you go down to, where is it, Macon, and get your orientation down there. I'd love to be a fly on the wall at that little arrangement, because at some point they have to let you know that, hey guys, not only are you elected to serve as representatives of your constituents, but you're gonna be part of these corporations that nobody's really talking about. And gentlemen, we've got elections coming up in November, and we've got at least one seat that's going to change. We know that for a fact. And this person, whoever it might be, is going to step in there, and unbeknownst to them, is going to immediately be made, a CEO of Henry County Governmental Finance Corporation, Henry County Office Industrial Park Corporation, Henry First, and Lord only knows what other corporations. But we didn't hire you to be corporate execs. We hired you to be representatives. And at some point, you should do your job and get rid of these, because yes, they were designed by the legal teams. Yes, they were designed so that you could do things that you can't normally do or legally do as the elected. Understand that and do something about it. That's all I've been asking from the get-go. Know that you are public servants. Know that you are our representatives. Know that you're up there to protect all of the rights included in this contract with America. That's all I have to say. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. Mrs. Heather Middendorf.
Good morning. Heather Middendorf, Thurman Road, Stockbridge. I'd like to read the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Larry Morey.
The First Amendment to the United States Constitution. The First Amendment to the United States Constitution prohibits the making of any law respecting an establishment of religion, impeding the free exercise of religion, abridging the freedom of speech, infringing on the freedom of the press, and interfering with the right to peacefully assemble, or prohibiting the petition for a governmental redress of grievances. It was adopted on December the 15th of 1791 as one of the 10 amendments that constitute our Bill of Rights.
Thank you. Mr. Don Henderson.
Chairman and Board, my name is Don Henderson. I live at 1005 Test Court in McDonough, Georgia. I come to you this morning to remind you of the First Amendment of the Constitution. It says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free speech, the free exercise thereof, and abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of people to peacefully assemble and to petition the government for their redress of grievances. And nowhere in this Constitution does it have a 5-minute or a 4-minute or a 3-minute time limit on it. I'd also like to add that when in the course of conducting business of the people, a legislative body, be it city, county, state, or federal, subverts the will of the people and regulates its power and authority to an unelected bureaucrat, tyranny is close at hand. I specifically addressed Georgia House Bill 554 that neutered the authority granted the chairman of the Henry County Board of Commissioners by referendum in 1996. Thank you.
Ms. Jenny Tony.
My name is Jenny Tony. I live at 1652 Highway 155 North, McDonough, Georgia. I want to read the amendment of the United States. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. This is the First Amendment, and also when you feel like you're being attacked, whether it be verbally or physically, you're afraid to speak up for your rights, and we shouldn't feel that way as people in the United States. And one of the things is waking up in the morning, which y'all have all heard, our car up on blocks, or the window shot out of the car, or the hood open and the gas tank open. And these things, you know, you feel like it's political, but then after the verbal attack right out here, you really feel like it's political and that we can't speak up for our rights. Well, you know, God's funny. He has a sense of humor. He knew I was coming to this meeting, and this fell into my phone this morning. It said, "Good morning, staff." This is one of our high schools. For those of you who are not present at the faculty meeting yesterday, we were provided a new directive for this high school. You are hereby directed to remove all items which contain religious symbols, such as a cross, crosses, printed Bibles, angels, Bible verses, printed prayers, and biblical quotations from the common areas, hallways, classrooms, office of Eastlake Elementary School. I might not should have said the school, but it went around to all the schools. Further, religious and biblical references should not be included in notes to parents, email signature lines, or any other correspondence sent on behalf of Eastlake School, Elementary School. Finally, please remember that all references to holiday parties should comply with the Henry County School District's policies, procedures, and practices for holidays. Please ensure that you remove all these items. You know what? We're standing up for our right amendment, but we're standing up for God. God gave us these rights. You know, I'm one person. I stood up in Locust Grove. They put on a sign, Xmas Festival, and I called City Hall and I said, I'm offended. I'm a Christian. I want the word Christ put back in Christmas. And they discussed it with me and told me why they shouldn't do it, that they were going to offend other people. Well, I'm a person too. All you people are, whoever's Christian, it should offend you if they take Christ out of it. If I can't wear a cross, my husband found this in Israel. It's a little hard. And if you've ever been to Israel and walked the streets that Jesus walked, when he died for us, you would stand up for your rights. Y'all stand up. Don't let them take our rights out of the schools. These are our kids. This is Our county, your children, your grandchildren, my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, stand up for Christ. If for nobody else, stand up for Christ. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. I have no more. Did anybody sign up that I'm not aware of? Okay, I'm going to determine that the 5-minute segment has been expired. Say again?
Not on that, I signed up to speak on something else. On 5 minutes.
Say again?
Speak on the Henry County Police Department.
I thought you already spoke.
He did, Chairman.
Yeah, but you should have spoke with that in that 5 minutes, because it's on the same card. You only get 5 minutes. You can't sign up for 2 5-minute segments. And you put that on the same 5 minutes. So I'm not going to allow another 5 minutes, because if we do that, then everybody wants to have another 5 minutes to do that. Does that answer your question? I know it don't, but that's an answer. Okay. Say again?
We'll change it.
Oh. Request to address the Board of Commissioners by Mr. Bill Tony. You got 15 minutes.
Tony's 1652 Highway 155 North, McDonough. I'd like to address an encounter that I had after the last meeting. Mr. Barham verbally assaulted me outside the door here, and I just wanted to explain. He told me I didn't know anything. Basically, I was stupid, and I took offense to it. I always have all my things the way that I'm supposed to. I do my research, I read everything, and I do it this way. Now, let me just say, when you're spending money like this, people have a right to get up here and stand and talk about it. That's your First Amendment rights. When you transfer $2 million and kill a police precinct and put it into a water park, I have a right to get up and speak about it. When we sign a check to somebody for over $100,000, I have a right to question it. Especially this right here was their equipment. If you'll look at how much money we spent on their equipment, this is asinine. It looks like we got their equipment into shape before they took it back to their place. I have a right to speak about it. These are things that, as a tax-paying citizen, I have a right to speak about. Mr. Barham, you were totally out of line. When I see things like this wore-out tire on this police car, I have a right to speak about it. So I do have a right, and we've got a lot of people that died to give me that right. We have people that are maimed. We have a lot of things. We have a First Amendment. we have a First Amendment right. This is a film of Mr. Barham waiting outside till I got out there, and then here he come, so loud it was unbelievable. If I had been in reverse of this, and I'd have gone after him and him hollering like that at me, I would have been in jail. That is so unfair. He got in my face so bad and screaming that the police inside that door came out to see what was going on. I've never been talked to like that before by another man, telling me how dumb, how stupid, and everything I am, and how smart. And I want to close a golf course that we're losing money on every day. That right there is not right in this society. We don't have kings. We don't have dictators. We have a government that's supposed to be working for us, not assaulting us like this. If you'll see that, please, he's coming out here. I told you to get out of my face, and I turned around right here, and I asked him to get you out of my face. And you're telling him you're not in my face. Any question about this? Mr. Moss, you were standing there too. Okay. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of a religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, abridging the freedom of speech or the press or the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Please watch this. These are people, I don't know if y'all know. Go ahead.
Sometimes we're alone. Thank you.
Flight Bravo 03, gear down 5 miles. We have a hero on board tonight. Angel Flight Bravo 02, you are number 1 for landing. Welcome home.
Those guys died for my rights. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. I yield the floor to District 3.
I'm not going to get too deep into this. You didn't see the whole video. Commissioner Moss and myself was outside talking to Mr. Tony's brother. And he approached me, and he was dissatisfied with where we had voted on the matter. I tried to explain to him why I felt like we needed to vote there, but he wasn't going to hear it. Now, he disagreed with me, and he's got every right to do that. But I've got a right to stand up for where I voted. Now, for over 3 years, I've been trying to get Mr. Tony to like me. And some people are never going to like it regardless. And, you know, I should have just said, the meeting's over, the vote's voted. I should have left the meeting and went on to my car. When you watch the video, you can make it sound like it's this or that all you want. But the fact of the matter is, I let Mr. Tony drag me into a confrontation about this vote that I shouldn't have. And the only other thing that I'm going to say, not the only thing I'm going to say, but the only thing that I'm going to say is I've been praying about this every day. And I've been praying for you, Mr. Tony. And I'm going to continue to pray for you every day. And I'm going to pray for Henry County, that we all do the right thing for our citizens. The other thing, you showed some videos about the military. A lot of you don't know this, and some of you do. My son just got out of the service, where he's received a medical retirement. He received a Purple Heart. He did 2 tours in Afghanistan, and he did some of that fighting. And I'm so proud of my son, but I'm proud of all our military. And I appreciate everything they've ever done for me. And when I see a veteran, whether it's in a restaurant or whatever, and I see if it's a Vietnam vet or World War II or whatever, I go out of my way to thank them for their service. With that, that's all I got to say. Yeah.
Consent agenda. The following items shall be considered on consent agenda. Following the vote, before voting on the consent agenda, the item, the chairman will provide opportunity to add or delete. Planning and zoning. Resolution approving the short-term work program and capital improvement element, annual update adoption and amendment to the Henry County Comprehensive Plan. Resolution authorizing the sale of firearms as mandated by OCGA 17-5-54. Resolution authorizing the disposal of firearms as mandated by OCGA 17-5-54. Resolution to accept the Edwin Band Memorial Justice Assistant Grant in the amount of $26,351. Technology Service, a resolution for technology-related renewal of network engineering total care support agreement. Corrections Department, resolution approving an award and annual contract for the rental of uniforms and miscellaneous facility services items for various county departments. Splash, resolution authorizing the chairman to execute all necessary documents for conveyance of fixed assets related to the water line and fire line at Bud Kelly Park at the Henry County Water Authority, to the Henry County Water Authority. This ends the consent agenda. Does anybody, any board member like to add or delete anything for discussion? If not, does somebody move we approve the consent agenda resolutions as read?
Move to approve.
Have a motion from District 3.
Second.
Second District 5. All in, any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign, so moved. Community Block Grant. This constitutes a public hearing resolution requesting consideration of an exception of the potential conflict of interest with the Henry County Neighborhood Stabilization Program. Ms. Sagner. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the board. The Community Development Department staff has identified a potential conflict of interest with an applicant of the Neighborhood Stabilization Program. The applicant, Mr. Joseph Tremboli, is a county employee in the police department. NSP assistance could potentially include up to $25,000 in down payment assistance towards the purchase of a Henry County NSP property. Upon written request, an exemption to the provisions of 24 CFR Part 570.489, subsection H, subsection 2, involving an employee, agent, consultant, officer, or elected official or appointed official may be granted by HUD or DCA as applicable on a case-by-case basis. An exception may be granted if it is determined that such an exception will serve to further the purpose of the Housing and Community Development Act and the effective and efficient administration of the Neighborhood Stabilization Program. An exception may be taken into consideration only after the local jurisdiction has provided full disclosure of the nature of the conflict, accompanied by an assurance that there has been public disclosure of the conflict and a description of how that public disclosure was made, as well as an opinion by the local attorney that the interest for which the exception is sought would not violate state or local law. In the documentation prepared for you all, you have a copy of that public disclosure, as well as a copy of the letter written by our county attorney. Some factors to consider in this request for an exemption is whether the exception will provide significant cost benefit or an exceptional degree of expertise to the program or project that would otherwise not be available. Whether the person affected is a member of a group or class of low-income persons intended to be beneficiaries of the assisted activity, and the exception will permit such person to receive generally the same interest or benefit as being made available or provided to the group or class. Whether the affected person has withdrawn from his or her function or responsibilities, or the decision-making process with respect to the specific assisted activity in question, whether the interest or benefit was presented before the affected person in a position described within the conflict of interest, whether undue hardship will resort either to the participating jurisdiction or person affected when weighed against the public interest served by avoiding the conflict. Final consideration would be made by the Department of Community Affairs. This request is to submit a request for exemption to be reviewed by DCA. This is a public hearing.
Anybody have any comments for staff? If not, this requires a public hearing. I want to open the floor up for 10 minutes. Anybody that'd like to approach the bench and be in favor of this? I'll say again, I'll open the floor up for people that'd like to be in favor of this resolution. Hearing none, seeing none, I now open the floor up for 10 minutes. Somebody that would oppose this resolution. If you would come to the podium, state your name for the record. I say again, the floor is open for opposition to this resolution. Seeing none, hearing none, I declare the public hearing requirement has been met, and I yield the floor to any commissioner that'd like to move in that direction. We have a resolution requesting consideration of an exception to a potential conflict of interest with the Henry County Neighborhood Stabilization Program. Does somebody move that we accept this?
Move to approve.
We have a motion from District 4. Second District 1, any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. So moved. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Resolution authorizing nuisance abatement procedure with the funding assistance of Community Development Block Grant Program funding. Shannon, and also with the help of Arthur Weems, our Code Enforcement Director. Good morning.
On Chairman, board members.
On March 15, 2016, the board approved an annual action plan amendment for the CDBG program, allocating CDBG funding to the Henry County Code Enforcement Department for clearance and demolition of dilapidated single-family residential structures. To date, staff has submitted requests to HUD for the demolition with no one-for-one replacement of 5 properties. These addresses include 1669 Greystone Drive, Hampton, 100 Forest Road, Stockbridge, 215 Wake Drive, Stockbridge, 645 Davis Drive, Stockbridge, and 4810 Scarborough Road, Ellenwood. As these activities will be assisted with CDBG funding, any repayment of liens would be considered program income to the CDBG program. It will come back into the program for continued use in the development and improvements of the community.
Okay, board members, what I have here just for the overhead, for the viewing public, to just look at what we're trying to do up there. Number 1 on the list would be 1669 Greystone Drive, Hampton. Just want to give you a shot of the conditions. You can see that. Okay, that's one picture of that. I'm not going to put all of them up. I'm just going to let you show what we've been dealing with over the past few years. This is in a subdivision right there. Structure burned about 4 years ago. We've been trying to get something done with it. We have made attempts with mortgage company, banks, and the former property owners. From what I understood, it's been a write-off on it. And that's public enemy number 1 on our list. So if we can get that out of there, that would be fine. Okay, let's go back in there. Okay, number 2 on the list, it's going to be 100 Forest Road, Stockbridge, Commission District 4, unincorporated. What's left of that structure right there. That's in a neighborhood there, Highland Village. That's number 2 on the list. Here's one more photo of it right here just to see the conditions on that property as it is now.
Number 3 on the list, 215 Wake Drive, Stockbridge, Commission District 4, unincorporated.
Number 4. In addition to these here properties, some of them being used as dump sites for tires, trash, and others. Okay. Number 4 will be 645 Davis Road, Stockbridge, unincorporated, District 4. That's some of the conditions as it is right now. burning structure on that property. That property there burned last year, and we were having issues about it before it burnt. There are no relatives left to address the property, so we put that on the list too. And the last one would be 4810 Scarborough Road, Commission District 5, unincorporated Henry County. That's some of the conditions of that property there now. There's another one. And as I stated before, they're being used for dump sites. And also being used as a dump site for tires. Look at that. And what I had just presented to you was the 5. It's not all of them. We probably got about, at one time we had about 50. I think we got it down to about, with these 5, I believe it leaves about 10 more. And this is our first run with the CDBG program. And we're gonna see how successful that is. And we're gonna get these taken care of. And that's what the resolution states. We want the Board of Commissioners to authorize the county attorney to go ahead and start the abatement proceedings on these properties. I have any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
I have a question. I yield the floor to District 4.
Arthur, thanks for coming in. As you know, I've had a lot of complaints on those ones in my district, and I'm glad to see we're moving forward with something. So to understand this correctly, this is basically a pilot program. We hadn't done this before. We're going to try this to see how it works out with CDBG. And if it does, there's some other areas in my district that are going to need some attention as well.
Oh yes, this is a pilot program. I'm quite sure some are all over the county, but these we know of because we had another one last week, I think, over close to Eagles Landing High School. It burned mysteriously. They don't know how it burned, so I know that'll be added to the list soon.
Okay. Well, thanks for looking into this. I really appreciate it. This is a needed thing.
Yes.
I've had, like I say, I've had some complaints in these areas with some of those homes. So I appreciate you guys looking into this. It's a good initiative.
Okay. Thank you.
I have several comments on the executive summary, which says background and summary. The second paragraph says, to date, staff has submitted requests to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for demolition with no one-for-one replacement of 5 properties to include. So that means this is not a 101.
This is not a one-for-one replacement. We are not proposing to reconstruct. What HUD permits with the use of CDBG funding is that you can utilize the funding to demolish. Typically, it requires a one-for-one replacement because the thought behind it is that you are removing a structure that is being occupied by a low-mod income household. All of these properties are vacant. We will not be reducing the available housing stock of low to mod income.
The house back on that property?
We are not proposing to rebuild on these properties.
Okay, if you come down, it says additionally, public notice identifying the properties was published in the Saturday, Sunday, September the 3rd, 4th, 2016 edition of Herald. The submission of public notice is done in compliance with 24 CFR 42.375. One-for-one replacement of lower income dwelling units.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That statute requires, if we are not going to replace it, that we advertise it.
I got you.
But this is just the name of that requirement.
Let me ask you another question. On that 100 Forest Road, it has a note there that is a pet memorial marker. Is that sacred ground, or is that? How do you have to protect that, or is that perpetual?
No, we would not. There was some staff put down there because they saw a little grave where a pit was buried at right there. It's marked, but it's not
So
anything.
we don't have to protect that like we would
No.
a grave. We don't have to mark
No.
it off. We don't have to identify it.
No.
I got you. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? I yield the floor to District 1.
The properties these houses are sitting on, will it come to the county? Will we own the properties?
Well, it could be if it's liens placed on the property, it cannot be sold until the lien is satisfied. And after so many years, I think it's 3 to 5 years, the tax commissioner can put it out for sale.
Okay, thanks.
Again, with the use of CDBG funding, that fund or revenue will come back to the CDBG program as program income, just to go back into
Anybody else have an additional
redevelopment.
question? If not, we have a resolution in the book. If somebody move, we consider the resolution.
So moved.
Have a motion from District 5. Second District 1. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. So moved. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Public safety resolution requesting the purchase of 54 Glock handguns with engraving not to exceed $22,626 for the police department and approve associated budget amendment. Major Goin. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Board of Commissioners. The police department last year began a transition of upgrading and transitioning our handguns to 9mm from 40 calibers. In doing so, we've completed over 80% of the department's transitions during the last budget cycle. The resolution before you would be to transition the additional weapon systems to the new calibered weapons, and in doing that, bringing all of our handguns up to current status and the most recent versions of that specific weapon system. The resolution requests that we transfer $22,626 from general fund balance to the police department and small equipment funding, and it would be utilized to do this.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
What does engraving mean?
Engraving, the sides of the weapon systems on the slides would have HCPD engraved on the side of them for identification purposes.
Let me ask you this. When we get rid of these weapons, does that engraving come off?
It doesn't, but it doesn't impede us in getting rid of them either, as long as we use an authorized dealer when we do so, but it can be removed.
Okay, I thought that's what it was. So we don't have to grind them off to sell them.
No, sir.
But if it's used in some impropriety, it would be identified by a serial number that it wasn't
Absolutely,
a police
yes, sir.
officer's weapon. Okay. Anybody got any questions?
Yeah, actually, in the last few meetings, we've been utilizing SPLOS, fund balance, and today the general fund. Are we still utilizing the SEAS funds for any of these public safety purchases?
I think part of it is in the seat, but in fines and forfeiture is what I counted.
If I might be able to answer, sir, we're getting ready to purchase $100,000 worth of patrol rifles for the active shooter scenarios that we've been discussing over the last couple of years. In doing that, we are authorized to use these funds for that. This is just a continuation of what we were doing last year under the budget cycle for the handguns themselves, but our intention is to use these funds as well for 2 more additional weapon system purchases.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
This purchase is general fund dollars, this particular purchase.
I yield the floor to District 4.
I believe, Commissioner Holmes, that this was budgeted because we started this last year, getting rid of the 40s, going back to the 9s. So I believe this was budgeted. It just was a slight overlook as it came up.
But it doesn't say that it's budgeted, it says that we're transferring it out of the general fund.
It had been budgeted for, but was taken out of the capital expenditure portions for this year's budget. In doing that, when you budget for something and you don't get it, you have to find another way to budget for it other than seize funds, because seize funds would be supplanting the budget if you were to ask for it after you had already budgeted for it, in this specific case only.
Thanks, Major.
Anybody else have any questions? Right, we have a resolution in the book that would approve this. Somebody move in that direction.
Move to approve.
Have a motion from District 4.
Second.
Second, District 5. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. So moved. Resolution requesting the purchase of 30 Dodge Chargers for the police department. This is equipment. We already bought the cars.
Correct.
Resolution for requesting the purchase equipment for the 30 Dodge Chargers for the police department and approve the associated budget.
Good morning again. In Resolution 16-281, the board authorized the police department in the transfer of funds to be able to purchase 30 vehicles for the fleet. 20 of those vehicles for the Uniform Patrol Division and 10 of them for the Criminal Investigation Division. The resolution before you would authorize us for the funding itself to be able to outfit and equip these vehicles moving forward. We would go through the purchasing department to get an authorized vendor to be able to bid out this process. I can go through each of the individual amounts for them, but I wanted you to understand that where it was going to be coming from. The recommendation is for the purchase of emergency equipment for 20 Uniform Patrol Division vehicles from the Department of Public Safety Excess Property Program based on pricing from a GSA contract, and this would be specifically for the emergency equipment itself. The recommendation to purchase mobile cameras from the Uniform Patrol for the Uniform Patrol Division vehicles from Computer Tech International based on pricing provided by a GSA contract in the amount of $100,400. The recommendation to purchase graphics for the police department vehicles in the amount not to exceed $4,100. The recommendation is to purchase mobile radios for all 30 of the vehicles through Loudon Communications based on pricing provided by Georgia State contract in the amount of $111,000 and $285. The recommendation to purchase computers for all 30 of the vehicles from CDWG based on pricing provided by Georgia State contract in the amount of $81,470.82. The recommendation to purchase emergency equipment for 10 criminal investigations vehicles from the Public Safety Excess Property Program based on pricing provided by GSA contract in the amount of $40,445.10. The recommendation to purchase window tinting for the Criminal Investigation Division vehicles not to exceed $1,450. The quotes for the above equipment were solicited through the purchasing department. Please consider the additional recommendation to approve a budget amendment transferring $496,283 from general fund balance to the police department line items as follows: $157,132 to capital outlay, $333,601 and $5,550 to general supplies. Funds are available and will be placed in the proper accounts pending the approval of the requested budget amendment. Total cost for the purchase of and equipment for the 30 Dodge Chargers for the police department is $1,196,760.
Anybody have any questions? I yield the floor to District 5.
Then what does this mean for this year's budget, transferring these dollars? Because it sounds like these dollars aren't budgeted.
They were in the capital plan, and I think it's been in the capital plan for a couple of suggestions, but this year when we formalized it, the board elected not to fund them right off the bat now. So the police department as well as fire department and a lot of other departments are coming back in now and requesting that we implement some of the purchasing that were proposed in the plan that the board didn't adopt at the budget time. So we're doing them on a one-off basis now. We're bringing them back to you as a request come up. but these were suggested in the capital plan, the 5-year plan that was presented to the board back in March. We just didn't get it funded during the budget.
Any other questions? I yield for District 4.
Major, just a question on the equipment. Talk to me about the in-car computers.
Yes, sir.
We going with Tough Books or something else other than?
All of them, they're exact same packages that we've been buying for the last year. So these are packaged, we haven't changed anything. They are the semi-rugged Tough Books. They're not the extremely rugged. Right. They're not the cheap ones either. They're the middle of the road. But we had spoken to 3 other police agencies in that consideration to determine which one we were going to go with, and this one seems to be the best bang for our buck. It is the Panasonic semi-rugged Tough Book.
Okay. Yeah, just for the citizens' sake, we had purchased Dell computers in the past, low bid, and the Dell computers' screens, when they got hot, leaked fluid out onto the computers and actually pulled the keyboards off. So they were pretty much useless.
That's right.
So sometimes, you know, we learn by doing, and sometimes the lowest bid and the cheapest item is not what we need. So that's why I'd ask that question.
Understood, sir. And we did go forward with a recommendation from the IT department with this specific model. We tested several different ones, and Mr. Skip Floyd also recommended it as well.
Now, are we gearing up to do hotspots in the car with GCIC?
Yes, sir, we
accessible in
are.
cars?
Part of the budget from last year was that y'all gave permission for me to upgrade some of the supervisors to have hotspots on their phones so they can continue to have internet access. That'll free up 21 additional devices for me to be able to put in the hands of the troops.
Okay.
Roger.
Excellent. Thank you.
Any further questions, comment? If not, we have the resolution to book. Somebody would like to move in that direction? Have a motion from District 4 to approve.
Second.
Second, District 3. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. So
Thank you
moved.
all.
Resolution authorizing use of fund balance for purchase of workstations for the personal property division of the tax assessor. Chief Tax Assessor, John Self. Good evening. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Yeah, this is a need that arose from having a remodel, and we ended up had one person in a space and ended up putting 5. Yes,
Thank you.
sir.
Bring it closer to you.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, this need arose from a remodel that we had done last year, where we had one person in a space and we have 5 in there now, and it ended up being kind of like a sounding chamber, and this is an area that requires everybody to be on the phone at once. So I don't think this was originally in any of the budgets or anything, but it is for cubes for the personnel in that area.
Anybody have any questions or comment?
I would make a comment too that this is a state contracted vendor. It's middle of the road, low of the road type cubicles.
Anybody have any comments or questions? If not, we have a resolution in the book authorizing use of fund balance for purchase of workstation for personal property department.
So moved.
Have a motion, District 3.
Second.
Second from District 4. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. So moved. Resolution authorizing use of fund balance for purchase of workstations in the real estate department for new hire positions approved in fiscal year 2017.
Yes, sir. This is really the same thing as personal property, except this was in the budget, and we were granted, I think, had requested 4 new employees, and we were given 2, and this is to accommodate the new employees.
This is $6,675.83.
Yes, sir.
Somebody move consideration of approving a resolution for the Board of Commissioners authorizing the use of fund balance for purchase at a workstation in the real estate department.
So moved.
Have a motion, District 5. Second, District 3. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. So moved. Next, we have a resolution authorizing ongoing compensation incentive initiative, Chief of President, and also Pam Attaway, but anyway.
And she's
You're
in the
here?
audience.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I guess a little history with this, because I think there was some confusion at some point along the way. Charlie Reddick, the chief appraiser at the time, and this was in, I guess, 2014, had come before the board seeking approval for compensation and reorganization of the tax assessor's office, and the employees in there had compression issues and salary issues relating to the market, if you will. They had completed a market study of salaries in the metro area and presented it to you guys. Their interpretation of it at the time was that it was to be an ongoing compensation agreement. You know, so here we are. I don't think the language was clean the last time it was presented to the board here. I will tell you, I think there was also some concerns about how transparent it was, and these monies that would hopefully be approved go into the salary area, so it really can't be manipulated around, if you will. The compensation initiative that was adopted by the Board of Assessors is included in here and really followed pretty much to the letter. So again, there's some transparency here that anybody can look at any point. I'd be happy to take any questions, I guess, as it relates to this. Yes, sir.
Didn't we approve this $35,000? This is not the first time I've seen this. I think the board.
Yes, sir. It's not the first time you've seen it, Commissioners. This was back in, I think it was 14, then it was initially proposed. And the issue that popped up during the budget process was it read to us that that agreement looked like it was a one-time approval from the board. Therefore, the signatories aren't on it because I don't have the authority, and neither does Budget or Finance have the authority to interpret. Now, when we met on this at Red Folder, we agreed that, okay, we would come back to the board and rewrite it and offer it to make sure it's clean from the standpoint.
Is that correct?
I'm sorry?
It's already been approved once.
That particular document back in 2014, but it was been interpreted that it wasn't ongoing.
They never used this money, is that correct?
Yes.
It wasn't specific to the chief appraiser. It was written in a way where the $35,000 would go to various positions in that particular department. So I just want to say that I believe that this particular department does a great job, and I support it.
What this does now is just allow for the continuation of it.
So, I guess my next question is, do we have to amend the budget in order to implement this?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And it's included. The new text is just below it. Once you adopt that resolution, then we'll bring back the balance to effect the transfer internally.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? If not, have a resolution to book.
This is not an additional $35,000.
Yes, it is.
Well, I think when we initially done it, we thought it carried over. We didn't realize it was just for that time period. So
He just asked us this additional $35,000 that we approved, so, and you just said yes.
Yeah, no, I'm saying the $35,000 is not in the current budget.
Yeah, but this is the same $35,000 we talked about
2 years ago.
Okay, so what he said was, he said, is this an additional $35,000? And you said yes.
That is correct.
When you just answered mine, that this is the same $35,000 we talked about previously.
The document you have before you, Chairman.
$70,000 total.
No, sir.
What's the total?
$35,000 new for this budget year. The reason it's back before you is that staff interpreted it, and I agreed that it appeared to be, and so did Mr. Self, it appeared to be a one-time configuration under the original document. That's not the case, and that's what cleans this up. So we brought it back to make sure we captured the board's intent to be able to say it is an ongoing $35,000.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments or questions? If not, we have a motion on the floor. No, we don't have a motion. Somebody consider.
Move to approve.
Move, have a motion from District 3, second District 5. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign, so moved.
Thank you.
Resolution to accept a special one-time return from the Associated County Commissioners of Georgia Group Self-Insurance Workers' Compensation Fund. Good evening.
Good morning.
Vincent Scott, the Director of our Risk Management Department.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Each year, premiums are collected from the Association County Commissioners of Georgia Group Self-Insurance Workers' Compensation Fund. The portion of the premium that is not immediately needed or for our injured workers are basically placed into an investment account. The ACCG, Georgia Self-Group Workers Insurance Compensation Fund Board of Trustees determined that it was in the best interest on behalf of the fund to eliminate one of the 3 money managers that manage an investment portfolio on behalf of the program. The investments from the terminated money manager were sold in order to transfer the portfolio to the remaining money managers, which resulted in an influx of realized gains. After the trustees, from this, the trustees declared a special one-time return to be distributed to check to its members that have participated in the fund since 2014. On August the 3rd, 2016, the Henry County Board of Commissioners was presented their portion of the special one-time return for $56,600. This does not affect our current 7.5% premium discount, nor the annual dividend return, in the form of a premium credit. This is a separate one-time return.
Anybody have any comments or questions?
I'm just happy to say that I actually sit on this board, and this particular group, specifically David Ullman, do a phenomenal job of managing this program. The only thing I have to say is I'm sorry we weren't able to bring a lot more money back to Henry County, but I guess every dollar counts. So thank you so much.
Any other comments or questions? Have a resolution in the book. Somebody move to approve.
So move.
Have who did that? You did? Oh, a motion from District 5. Second District 3. Any further discussions? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. So moved. Resolution approving a budget amendment for fiscal year 2016-2017 budget to transfer funds to educational and training accounts from ACCG revenue account. Item number 19. Oh, we took it in, now you're gonna spend it. That's a good plan.
From the special one-time account that the Henry County Board of Commissioners received, the Association County Commissioners of Georgia encourages that counties to consider investing at least a portion of this special one-time return to implement programs and practices that can reduce the number and severity of future accidents. The Risk Management Department requests a budget transfer amendment of $6,600 to the fiscal year 2017 Risk Management budget line item in education and training.
Somebody move in that direction.
So moved.
Question?
So moved.
We have a motion, District 5. Second District 3. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. So moved. Resolution approving the budget amendment fiscal year 2016 to transfer funds to repair and maintenance account from ACCG revenue account.
From the special one-time return of $56,600, the Association County Commissioners of Georgia encourages counties to consider investing at least a portion of this special one-time return to implement programs or practices that can reduce the number and severity of future accidents. In this case, we have found an AED complaint in which we had at one of our facilities, in which we intend to use this money in repairing that facility.
Anybody have any questions for staff? If not, we have a motion. Somebody move in that direction. We have a motion, District 5.
All right.
Second. Yeah, I got District 5. Second. So you have a question?
Second.
Okay. Have a motion for District 5, second from District 4. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. So moved. Thank you. Resolution approving and sign the Georgia Property Damage Release Form.
On April the 4th, 2016, a Progressive Insurance policyholder claimant caused damage to the metal and wood fencing at at the Nash Farm Park. Repair to the wooden and metal fence was at the cost of $4,236.50. This has been an ongoing attempt by the Risk Management Department to obtain reimbursement for the money spent in repairing the damage caused by the claimant. This is the final effort to have the claim from the Henry County Risk Management Department closed out. The Risk Management Department recommends the signature of the Georgia Property Damage Release document in order to reimburse the general fund in the amount of $4,236.50 and bring closure to the risk management claim number 227-2016.
Everybody got any comments or questions? If not, we have a resolution for the Henry County Board of Commissioners to approve and sign the Georgia Property Damage Release Form.
So moved.
I have a motion for District 3. Second from District 5. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. So moved.
Thank you.
Resolution approving the purchase of necessary emergency equipment for 3 new pumper fire trucks using SPLOST funds. Mr. Burkhalter, how you doing?
Chairman, Commissioners, good morning. The voters of Henry County approved the SPLOST 4 referendum, which included funds for fire station capital equipment for the Henry County Fire Department. The purchase of the 3 new pumper fire trucks was approved with resolution number 16-33. Municipal Equipment Services has provided the attached quote for emergency equipment in the amount of $134,566.45, which is the NPP Gov/GPO contract. NAFCO has provided the attached quote for fire hoses, which is a GSA contract, and thermal imaging cameras, which there's a sole source provider. That letter is attached in the amount of $80,968. This equipment is necessary to meet ISO requirements. The Henry County SPLOST Department is requesting authorization to use SPLOST 4 funds to purchase the necessary emergency equipment for the 3 new fire trucks, totaling $215,534.45.
Anybody have any comments or questions? If not, have a resolution, Henry County Board of Commissioners approving the purchase of necessary equipment for 3 new pumper fire stations. Somebody move that direction. So motion from District 3, second District 1. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. So moved.
Thank you, Board.
Resolution approving the budget amendment and bid award for construction of Frog Road Dirt Road Improvement Project. Mr. Romero, good morning.
Good morning, Chairman and board members. Frog Road is an approved District 1 SPLOST 3 Dirt Road Improvement Project. A budget amendment in the amount of $885,726 is needed to cover the cost of construction and utility relocation. Staff recommends using $722,651 from District 1 Lester Mill Road, $15,025 from District 1 resurfacing fiscal year 2014, and $148,050 from District 1 South Bethany Road. All 3 projects mentioned are SPLOST 3 projects. Sealed bids were solicited through Purchasing Department for construction of Frog Road, bid number 17-09. 6 sealed bids were received and reviewed. The lowest bid is $2,081,691.29 from McCoy Grading, Inc. Staff recommends the approval of the budget amendment and also the construction for Frog Road to McCoy Grading in the amounts provided. In addition, this resolution also authorized the county manager or his designee to approve changes less than $50,000.
I yield for District 1.
Thank you, Rocky. It's been a long time coming, hasn't it?
Yes, sir.
Many years.
Yes, sir.
But anyway, I appreciate your hard work, and I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Approve resolution. Second District 3. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. So moved.
Thank you.
Resolution approving supplemental agreement for design of Amelie Road, Thoroughbred Road, Elliott Road, East Atlanta Road, Thurman Road, Flat Rock Road, McDonough Parkway, SR 42 to 155. Mr. Bonner.
Good afternoon. Good morning. Good morning, Board. This has been tabled a couple of times, and it goes back in the administrative side for about 2.5 or 3 years regarding the compliance requirements that the county is required to, that the state may have some exemptions on relative to impervious areas that we create during construction projects. The statute indicates that if you have 5,000 square feet of additional impervious area, you're required to start looking at it from a compliance standpoint. That would be your MS4 as well as maybe NPDS as we're going through time. We have put together a couple of a presentation here to show you where the compliance triggers, when it came into effect and what the requirements are. In this particular project, we happen to be at a place where it's a good juncture. We have not gone so far down the pipe now where construction is on the way, and we're not at a point where anybody's going to be triggered in terms of holding up the project. It is additional money. The design component is additional money, and we've done some pretty clever things to account for the design and the stormwater work that has to be accounted for on the project. But I've got Rocky and Mr. Romero, Mrs. Tucker, and Mr. Stroud here this morning to kind of walk you through the compliance aspect, the long-term impact of Henry County, and our recommendation. So, Mr. Romero?
Thank you.
Bonner.
Mr. Bonner.
Bonner.
Mr. Bonner. First, we got a few things we want to cover, as Mr. Bonner mentioned. First, I'll go over the resolution, which is a little bit different. This is the one that was tabled back in September. Second, Kim Tucker, Stormwater Director. We'll go over the evolution of stormwater requirements. And third, Wade Strauss, Henry County Director, will go over the DOT process. And lastly, I'll come back and talk about the resolution and the numbers that we got now. So the resolution is for the Amelie Road and Thoroughbred, which are District 2's plus 4 projects approved for the design July 7th of 2015 per resolution number 15243. Elliott Road is a District 4 plus 4 project approved for the design in April 21st of 2015 per resolution 15-116. East Atlanta Road, Thurman Road, Flat Rock Road is a District 5 plus 4 project approved for design July 7th of 2015 per resolution number 15-242. And McDonough Parkway, which is from State Route 42 to State Route 155, is a District 3 plus 4 project and also a Henry County DOT project approved for design July 7th, 2010 per resolution number 10-140. Additional design work is required for these projects to address comments resulting from the new plan review process for the SPLOST projects and for the Henry County Water Authority additional coordination efforts and redesign. Henry County Water Stormwater MS4 permit requires all development projects, including linear projects, roadway improvements, to adhere to the Georgia Stormwater Management Manual. Wolverton and Associates has provided a supplemental agreement for the design changes in the amount of $4,688 for Amelie, same amount for Thoroughbred Road, $15,908 for Elliott Road, $7,283 for East Atlanta at Thurman Flat Rock. And Kimberly Horn has provided a supplemental agreement for design changes in the amount of $73,242 for the McDonough Parkway. Funding for the additional supplemental agreements is available in each respective project budget. At this time, I'll let Kim go over the stormwater and the MS4 requirements. The plan review requirements were last year, around September of last year, 2015. It came from the county manager's office to go through the plan review process, and that's what we're doing since then, and the presentation is going to talk to you a little bit more about stormwater and the requirements.
I just want to know if we voted on the resolutions after the requirements were implemented, why didn't the resolution reflect the requirements?
The resolutions that originally, when we brought those for design, did not include the plan review process, and that's what we're here for.
So these requirements are county requirements? Are they state requirements?
They're state requirements, and
so when were they implemented by the state?
so if we can go through the presentation, we can.
To answer your question, these are very old statutes that are on state books. And in some regard, these are also a federal consideration depending on where the road is. The board has not adopted a resolution. What they did adopt is the new site plan review. What we're trying to do with Alma and these other projects are to get the board so that we're compliant with all the state requirements for the MS4 and in a longer search, the NPDS requirements. We have been acting on these for some time. The state approved these or mandated these some years ago. And I think you've addressed those in your presentation.
Yes.
Okay.
I'd like to could address that. In the evolution of stormwater requirements as it pertains to Henry County, originally Georgia drafted a Georgia Water Trespass Code in 1863. And that really addresses the surface water, the quantity, the quality, the direction of the flow, that it cannot negatively impact downstream property owners or adjacent property owners.
The only comment I would make in conjunction with District 5, the questions I have, and I had this last time, we take this and we design it. Somebody designs it. And then they bid it out. And then somebody bids on it, and then about the only time the board sees this is when y'all bring it up here and we go through the process and we approve it. And then traditionally speaking, in this case here, I'm not confused. I understand this. How do we do a project? How do we bid it out? And then all of a sudden at the end, there's additional design work is required for these projects to address comments resulting from the new plan review process. Okay? How can we approve it? Doesn't some of the stuff get grandfathered?
I mean, even the contractor, if these requirements were in place, when the contractor had said, hey, according to these designs, we need to redo this design because we're not adhering, or you haven't adhered to these particular requirements. So now we're coming back and we're going to have these engineers redo the design, and we're going to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this. And I just don't understand. It's totally inefficient.
I think what it is when we put all these projects out for bid, not only Henry County, but other counties were not adhering to the standards. And it takes time to get to that point. Just like things have evolved on erosion. 20, 30 years ago, there was not even an erosion set of plans. Now, 20 years ago, yeah, there's an erosion set of plans. Now everything has evolved. Now erosion set of plans are a standby. At the beginning, they were part of the design. It was just one sheet. Now, if you look at an erosion set of plans, it's sometimes as big as a construction set of plans. So things have evolved, and it takes time to get to that point where everybody's doing it. So and that's why we're here, just to adhere to the standards that are now in place.
If you're looking at what you got displayed right now, you got the Georgia Water Trespass Code. That was drafted in 1863, and it was revised in 2006.
That was the most recent revision,
Okay.
2006.
Then you got the federal state mandates, MS4, which we're talking about in MS4. Phase 2 was drafted in 2000. It was revised in 07 and 12. Henry County Stormwater was drafted in 06 and recently in 12. So I'm saying, unless you flip up another page, all this was into play when the design was made. Is that correct? When we paid a company to design it? Did they not adhere to all these rules at that time? I'm getting confused as to, you look at 6 and 7 and 12 and 12, and now we in 2015, 2016, and we're saying that it was an oversight that the Henry County Stormwater MS4 permit requires all development projects, including linear roadways, so that it indicates that federal mandate permits, MS4, was already intact when this was bid. Is that correct? When it was designed?
Well, it's my understanding that linear projects, from the time that Henry County started having their MS4 permit in 2007, linear projects weren't necessarily addressed. Henry County DOT linear projects were not necessarily looked at or reviewed for stormwater MS4 compliance. Since then, and GDOT as well, since then, GDOT has been held to a stricter standard, and they have revised their drainage manual as well. And I think that has brought a lot of attention to linear projects and whether or not they're compliant with MS4 permits. So with that additional attention, it's been raised with our county, how are we looking at our linear projects? So has it been a part of our permit since 2007? Yes, it has. Most recently, it's been brought to our attention. That's why we've revised the plan review process internally. And so for those projects that are in a preliminary phase, those are the ones that we're addressing currently.
Let me ask you this. The bottom line is it appears to me somebody dropped the ball. Now, you're saying the ball wasn't dropped. But I go back to this again. How did this happen? We bid it out, the design, and they know about all these rules and regulations. And you're saying that GDOT had different rules? How can they have different, is it published?
I wouldn't necessarily say that they have different rules or different requirements. They have different exemptions that we are not privileged to. In fact, I'll go through a little bit. This was the Georgia code I was going to reference.
This is what they're relying upon?
No, this is the Georgia code that I was referencing. Here's our MS4 permit that references what the new development requirements are and the redevelopment requirements are. So
look when all these things are dated.
So, yes, sir.
12 and 6
That's
and 9?
2012. That's correct.
Show me one that was dated this year.
So the most recent permit is the 2012 permit and PDS permit that this is the current permit that we work under.
Shouldn't the designer had known that? That was designing the project?
Mr. Chairman, in regard of what engineers submit, I think what is getting lost on it, the rules have clearly been in place for a long time. There's no doubt about that part. The statutes are there. What has occurred is in a lot of jurisdictions where people just didn't implement it until all of a sudden, with the GDOT requirements being scrutinized a little more, as Mrs. Tucker has pointed out, once people started looking at it, we started recognizing, wait a minute, we're not compliant ourselves. And as long as 2 years ago, the board was put an ordinance that advised you of, wait a minute, we're not in compliance with the MS4 side of this. So it's old news here. Last year, I think it was just right after I got here, we had a meeting. I went through the NPDS is a national standard. It's required by all states in the United States. And having experience with that, once I read where we were at and recognizing what the MS4 implications of this were, we made a conscious decision, wait a minute, we need to figure out when's the best place and where's the jump-off point where we could implement this with the least amount of impact on projects that were ongoing. So we looked at the ones that were coming, and this is the one where it appears where the money was going to be the least amount for new design, and it was going to be the one that we would use as the benchmark going forward. You have to at some point have it break. Would I much prefer to be addressing this board when the engineers came and said, oh, you need to start looking at the compliance of this? And I think the engineers and the developers are following suit to what everybody else in the state did. Well, we hadn't been challenged on it to this year. Now we're getting some pushback on it, and the compliance has become an issue. Water resources in Henry County are very, very important. We're looking at water quality.
The designer done exactly what he was instructed to do. Is that what you're saying?
No, sir, I don't know what the instructions were because in a
That would be the
PE,
bid package, right?
in the PE,
Wouldn't
they're
that be the bid
required to
package?
design to the compliance aspects of the code that they build to. So I don't think there's any instructions that we could give the PE, the design professionals, that would let them step over. There's no authority for us to let them step over a state statute.
Well, the way I understand it right now, if we don't approve this, the project, it stops and it creates a whole lot of problems. And I think the board is going to be pushed in a position to where, whether we like it or not, we're going to have to approve this. Otherwise,
Mr. Chairman, I have a different opinion. It's our recommendation that you approve it. If you don't, we'll just be in non-compliance. Now, whatever that means down the road, we're going to...
I don't think it's very responsible for us to be non-compliant.
We agree.
But I don't think you can be non-compliant if it's retroactive stuff, so.
If we don't support it, do these projects still move forward?
Yes, sir.
Chairman, if I can say something else?
Yes, sir.
A lot of these projects, the engineers for many years, they've been following what GDOT has been, we follow GDOT, and for many years, GDOT has not complied, to the extent to the, what is called the MS4, the post development. They did not, sir.
Okay, did they put us on notice that, hey, we haven't been doing this, and now starting March 1st of 2016, we're going to start enforcing this.
And I think that's the issue, that new regulations come in place, and it doesn't trickle down all the way to stormwater, not to stormwater, to SPLOST.
So what happens if we don't approve this? What's the bottom line?
We do, just to tell you a little bit more of what we do, because all of this is mainly post-development. Everything pre-development we do erosion plans, we do the NOIs. There was something that came in last week from you that we were using the wrong NOI date. We didn't know, I appreciate you letting me know about that, and we sent the corrected one. But what we had in our file, if EPD doesn't send us an email, this is the new form, it's hard for us to follow through. But once we know that there's a change, we quickly make the corrections to adhere to them.
You stated that this was a county initiative. It wasn't forced on us by the state.
Well, the county initiative, which was a good initiative, which was about the plan review, at that point, that's when SPLOST found out that there was these additional requirements.
But these projects are already approved, so I mean,
Correct.
I would be okay for future projects, but I don't want to go back and redesign and have to pay all this money for to redesign these particular projects and move these projects down the road.
Well, if we can look at that.
I yield the floor to District 4.
Let me take the board through the process here of what happens, and I've designed many road for a municipality. Typically, we haven't been held to the MS4 standards. When these RFPs were sent out and sent back in, there was nothing about the MS4. And it's just typically understood that counties don't review their own linear projects. And Rocky, can you put this up on the overhead for me? Just down there, please. So some things we need to separate out. Some of the red lines are by the Henry County Water Authority. They had conflicts with the roads alignment. Now, the question that I'd like to propose to the board and to the engineers, if there's a problem with the water line when you're designing a project, should not the engineer itself have quality control in their office to stop designing it and maybe move and bring it to your attention? I know when I'm designing something, if it doesn't pass and it doesn't work, so I don't continue designing it. It seems like they just went ahead and designed it. There's a place we have to do, and I know on Elliott Road we have to realign the road because of a conflict with the water line. But is that our responsibility to pay them to redo it, or is it their responsibility to get it right? In my opinion, it's their responsibility to get it right. Now, on to the subject of MS4. If you could go to the screen. All right, you'll see down there where I have the arrows, the 10% downstream analysis, $22,000. Let me take you guys through what a 10% analysis is. We run hydrology on a 10% of the property on a big piece of property. So basically, we take 100 acres, you look at 10 acres, and you see what the outflow is going to do. What does this mean in the real world? Probably about nothing. I have to do these on projects that we do. It's just a bunch of numbers. Bean counting doesn't mean a thing. It doesn't mean we're compliant. It's not going to change anything. Do I think we need to pay for that? No, not at all. Do I think it's necessary? My opinion, no, not at all. This is a requirement that we're holding these designers to. Again, on the new projects, when they go out to RFP, we can put in there must meet MS4 2017 requirements as per DOT, but we did not. The question comes to whose responsibility is it? Is it our responsibility to pay these engineers with taxpayer dollars to correct plans they should have done correct the first time? I don't believe it is, but again, what do we do in this position if we don't fund them and the projects don't move on? So now we have an obligation to the public to move on with these projects. Now, I met with staff, and I know, Rocky, I had sent you back to go back to these consultants and talk to them about their fees.
Correct.
And I know they came off some of the fees, and how much exactly did they?
They came down over a little bit over 20,000 from the original. Originally was 126, 194. The new numbers total is 105, 809.
How much of this is from the Henry County Water Authority, the red lines from the Water Authority?
That's the breakdown.
Okay. On the Water Authority, these are where water line interferes with the alignment of the road, is that correct?
That's correct. And one thing that we've noticed lately is that, which we never had any issues in the past, is all these big transmission lines and big sewer lines that were not there in the past. We never had an issue with that, and that's where that additional coordination and going back and forth, we have never seen that. I think we can fix that on the future. I think we can put a language in there that no matter how many times you go back and forth, that way we don't have to come back, again for a change order for design. That's definitely, we don't want that, So that's something we're gonna make an amendment to our design contracts to include that language about that, because we never had that problem before. Before they would send us Water Authority would send us their existing location, the proposed location, but it was never move this, change this, have 10, 30 different locations that are in conflict. Can you change this? We never had that issues before, but on these projects, two of them, we have a lot of issues going back and forth, and that's why they're requesting that additional funding.
If we've never had the issue before, why do we have it now?
Because of what I just stated, there's bigger lines that are in the way. We never had those before. On the McDonough Parkway, the one you showed before, that one, there's a sewer line where the Water Authority doesn't want their sewer within the walls. We got some embankments that we have to build, and we have to build some walls, and they don't want to be encased within the walls. They don't want to have their sewer manholes 15, 20 feet deep. So that's why we had to relocate the road.
So the question is it the design engineer's responsibility to review their own plans and make these decisions before they come to us, or is it our responsibility to redline them, send it back to them, then send us an invoice for changing their plans? And that's been my contention the whole time. Why am I having to pay these guys when they should have done it right the first time? And there's where the rub is. And again, here we are in a pickle. If we don't vote to do this, these projects stop.
Let me ask you this. I was told that if we don't do this, we're in non-compliance. Okay, let me share this. If we do nothing, would we be in compliance based on past practice with everybody?
Probably not.
No,
What-
you,
With who? The state or the county? I mean, you guys admitted that this is a county initiative. So we're pulling the resolution ourselves to send it back to the contractors to redesign it to our own doing. I mean,
So
this
we
has
did
nothing
that?
to do with the state.
Is that what I took out of District 4? The county took it back and sent a revised,
yeah, the MS4 is a state initiative, but we didn't spell it out in our RFP. And I designed roads a long time. I never did a 10% downstream study in my entire life on a linear project. And I can tell you, you drive on my roads every day, and there's not an issue. So do we need to hold these projects to the brand new MS4? In my opinion, not really. But at this point,
well, read that right there.
I'd like to say that we did reach out to Georgia EPD to get more clarification on what exactly we are required to adhere to when it comes to the MS4. And on this previous slide, it does show that our MPDS refers us to the Georgia Stormwater Management Manual when it comes to linear projects. The Georgia Stormwater Management Manual refers us to GDOT's manual. Well, GDOT's manual has several exemptions to it, which they follow. So we reached out to Georgia EPD to see if we would also fall under those same exemptions. And this was their reply, that the GDOT permit and the exemptions are only applied to GDOT only. They do not apply to Henry County linear projects. So therefore, Henry County must comply with the Georgia Stormwater Management Manual requirements.
When did they give us that? I know it says August 8th.
So August 8th. We reached out to them on August 8th.
Well, we can sit here and talk about this all day, but I'm prepared to vote no, just to see where it's going. And that way, I'm sure it would be more discussion later. District 3.
Rocky, you talked about Henry County, we're gonna have to relocate a water main McDonough Parkway.
No, we're not at this time. Since we made the changes to the alignment, there's no changes. We're not going to have to relocate anything with the the storm sewer or water lines on McDonough Parkway.
I'd like to make one more comment, and that is the purpose behind the MS4 in the Georgia Stormwater Management Manual requirements, and that is so we don't negatively impact the downstream property owners. If we're creating linear projects that are going to increase the volume of water that's going to be on their property, then we would be and we know it now that we know it and we know how much. That, I think, is what we are looking to be into compliance with through our permit.
One question, Chairman.
District 3.
Rocky, my question is, on this redesign, they're not gonna go back and redesign the roads and all that. They're just gonna redesign what's affected by the stormwater, is that correct?
Correct. On the part of the stormwater, they're just going to go ahead and do all the requirements for that post-development. Now we do have a checklist. Originally, we didn't have a checklist. Stormwater have a checklist now that has been included in every design project that we put out since early 2016. But these are projects that started in 2015. But yes, you're talking about, let me put back the percentage.
Yes, they will be redesigning the roads, realigning the roads not to have the conflict with the water lines or the sewer. Now, the stormwater is not redesigned. Stormwater is a bunch of spreadsheets and computer stuff, but the conflicts with the water and sewer lines, yes, they will be redesigning the plans. But again, the question comes, should they have caught this and should they have had their own people catch this before it came to us, and we told them they needed to fix it.
These projects that are in the preliminary that are looking at meeting the MS4 compliance. What we're looking at right now is if it's increased the flow amount by 5% or 3 CFS. And so if we feel like basically that's going to really negatively impact the downstream property owners, that's kind of our cutoff point. That's our measure that we're looking at. Should we do something if it's greater than 3 CFS or 5%?
3 CFS is a water hose, just for my commissioner, so you understand.
We need to move on, because I don't, we hashing something over. We have a District 1.
On this today, how many projects will we stop? None? Okay.
We're just being non-compliant.
We just won't be in compliance.
Well, the water authority can stop these projects. Because they have to issue a permit, not Henry County.
I understand that, but it would be
Right.
them.
If the water authority says there's a conflict,
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
says, hey,
I got
you have a conflict, they have to issue a permit. So yes, the water authority can stop these projects. Now, stormwater, we're over stormwater. The water authority, we are not. So I'll be honest with you. You guys want my 10 cents on it? I say we do the design change for the water authority and let this stormwater stuff go.
We have a motion. Somebody moves the motion. There's no motion on the floor, so it dies for a motion, lacking a motion. It's not tabled, there's no action taken.
Would the board be agreeable to the stormwater or the water authority?
I think if we're gonna do one, we ought to do them all. I really think that. So
Well, the difference is the water authority is actually a physical problem, an issue, conflict between a water line.
Yeah, but you're talking about water lines.
Water lines.
Okay, I'm saying that the line was there when somebody designed it.
That's
and
right.
They knew that the water authority is.
That's correct.
This is the science. They know they go out there and they're gonna have to relocate a 9-inch water main or 24-inch water main, and they're gonna calculate the cost to move that. So in this case, the road was designed with the water line infrastructure already there.
Correct.
So to come back later and say, okay, water authority wants X number of amounts to do this, I think a designer needs to do something.
I agree.
Have some restitution. So that's why I would be prepared to, if it comes up, I will vote no, but I don't think it's coming up. And I don't know what that means, other than the fact it would just be at a later date. And we'll just see, okay, we don't stop the project, the road continues. And I know that there may be some issues, but the deal is, I think we'd have from henceforth, you need to do exactly what y'all should have done or somebody should have done in this case here. I think we've established that. And then we won't get in this dilemma. But to me, when you start doing change orders, it shouldn't be for design. It ought to be that you came down here and you hit rock. That's a hardship. You might want to renegotiate that. But I'm familiar with change orders. And I think one commissioner said at one time, it's easy to make change orders and pick up another buck or two, but that's just some thoughts that was floated around. So having said that, I'll give another opportunity. Anybody wants to make a motion?
County Attorney? Yes. What recourse do we have with the consultants? You know, on the stormwater, I know we invented, the board up here can waive that. The water authority, you know, we don't have any authority over the water authority. What recourse do we have for the engineers since they, you know?
I'd have to look at the bid packages and the contracts. I don't have those. I've not been asked to review those before.
Okay. Can you look
I can
into
do
that then?
Absolutely.
Because we need to see what we can do, because they got to move forward. We've got to get going.
When it comes to some of these projects now that we have looked at, and we've looked at the increase in CFS, and we do see that there's going to be a negative impact to those property owners downstream. I guess I'm not quite sure how we would move forward with that. Like, for example, some of these would be like 25 CFS impacting a downstream property owner. It's a significant amount of water.
We'll move forward the way that we've moved forward for the last 100 years. That's what
I'm
we'll
just
do.
saying, if we do nothing, then somebody will come after us.
I mean, wouldn't they understand that in their design? I mean, are they gonna design it so it could significantly impact somebody else downstream?
If
I
they
mean,
haven't
purposely?
looked at the downstream analysis, then
The question that I have is that, Chairman, you just said that from this point on, we make sure that it's part of our delivery package when it comes back from the design professionals, that they ensure that we're in compliant with the MS4 application of Henry County. And is that correct? Is that what the board, we're going to let this one go on as is, but all things coming back, we're going to be in compliance? Is that the board's wishes? And making certain that the design professionals bring it up that, okay, here's what you have to build to now.
Without objections, I'm going to move on with the agenda. The approval of the minutes for September the 20th, 2016. Thank you, staff. 2016 BOC regular meeting. If somebody move that we approve the minutes as published.
So moved.
Have a motion, District 3, second District 1. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Comments. Chairman has no comments, and I'm going to start with Commissioner 1. Do you have any comments?
No, sir.
Commissioner 2, we don't have one. Commissioner District 3.
I just want to let everybody know the fair's in town, so if you get an opportunity, go by and support the Kiwanis Club.
Okay. District 4.
Chairman, I do have an announcement. I've been asked to speak on their basketball sign-up, youth basketball sign-ups right now. The sign-up's been kind of low, so if you've got a child and they're interested in playing basketball, please come to the Henry County website. You'll see it up front. Thank you.
I yield the floor to District 5.
No comments.
County Manager, do you have any comments?
I have a few. Commissioners, first.
Do the first two.
All right. First, I think I have to say a strong thank you to the Williams family. And I say that because they were having a family reunion, and they thought enough to stop me at the airport and recognize me by name when I was trying to get on the aircraft. Loving family. There were a lot of hugs and kisses going on there, but I was so impressed, and it made me feel right at home when they recognized who I was and, actually invited me. So now I'm getting on a plane. But to the Williams family reunion, thank you for that kind moment at the airport. As the board knows, I've been in some pretty intensive training the last couple of days. The ICMA conference was outstanding. I have to say it's probably the best one I've been to. I will owe the board about $195 times 2 for 2 classes that I did miss for getting a cheaper aircraft flight and not paying attention to what day it flew. Angie and Sherry and Lori Lynn and Fred are up in Stone Mountain, which I'll be going to right after the meeting for the GOFA conference.
GO what?
Governmental Financial Officers Association. And this is the Georgia version. I'm a member of the Florida version.
Would you be so kind enough as to bring back
I did.
to the board the current recommendation of GFAO about recommended fund balance?
Attended a conference about that yesterday, Chairman.
Thank you.
And your auditors spoke in that. And as the classic examples is, it depends. And there were 5 things there. It talked about seasonality of when your tax flows come in. It talks about your tax.
Please, when you get through.
Sir?
Would you bring all that back to us when you get through?
Yes, sir, I will.
Thank you. Okay, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I wanted to put that in there.
That's the 3 things I have, unless the Board of County Commissioners has questions for me.
Anybody got any questions for the county manager? We have a question from the commission forward to the county manager.
Are we having executive session today?
I'm not aware of any.
I don't have any litigation.
We don't have any
Mr.
litigation. I
Chairman
thought we was going into executive session for personnel. Is that?
I believe we were.
Okay, are we?
Yeah.
Okay. We don't have any litigation. We don't have any.
I'm not aware of
future
personnel.
acquisition of real property. So that answers your question. We're going into executive session for personnel. County attorney, you have any comments?
No, sir.
Upcoming meetings and events, October the 18th at 6:30 p.m. is a regular meeting, November the 1st, 9 o'clock is a regular meeting, executive session. Does somebody move that we're going to executive session to discuss personnel matters only.
So moved.
We have a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, so moved. Okay, we are now going into executive session. We'll come back when we get through.